Chosen one, this message didn't find you by accident. God sent you here for a purpose. And just like Elon Musk's letters and announcements often signal a groundbreaking shift in technology, business, or even human history, this moment is a divine signal in your life. Heaven is preparing you for a mission that extends far beyond personal success. It's about shaping futures and leaving a generational legacy. The struggles you've faced, the wisdom you've gained, and the faith you've strengthened have been part of your spiritual engineering process. Think of it as your personal SpaceX launch sequence. Every challenge was a calculated step to ensure you could handle the altitude of your calling without burning out on the way up. This letter is your divine blueprint. If you receive it in full, you'll understand how to walk in heavenly elevation, honor the weight of your journey, and apply spiritual strategies that shift not just your life, but the lives of those who come after you. Elon Musk's bold ventures remind us that the world changes when someone dares to follow an impossible vision. Chosen one, heaven has entrusted you with such a vision. The pen is already in God's hand, and this letter, this moment, is his confirmation that your name is being written into something extraordinary. We are aware of your presence, loyalty, and harmony with our message. You belong to a generation that has a mission. Enter 77 in the comment section right now if this word speaks to your spirit. That figure isn't arbitrary. It's a holy way of telling the cosmos and the highest power that you're ready. Are you prepared to accept the advancement, chances, and divine alignment that God has already planned for your life and legacy? Not everyone will read this message all the way through. Only those who are really selected. Clarity, prophetic insight, and an awareness of how God is preparing them for generational influence will be acquired by those who do. This message should not be heard only once and then forgotten. It is a living word, a spiritual blueprint that is gradually coming to life. Every time your spirit calls, you should rewatch it because it will unveil a fresh layer of divine truth that will demonstrate how heaven is actively raising you for your legacy, your impact, and your destiny. Let's get started. Understanding Divine Elevation, Chapter 1. The exaltation of God is deliberate, purposeful, and painstakingly planned. They don't lift you by accident or what seems like random times. Their divine design is the primary cause of every promotion, every opening, and every chance for advancement. God raises you because they recognize your loyalty, your moral fiber, and your capacity to influence others and mold the world in His image. Personal achievement, monetary gain, or social recognition are seldom the only factors that contribute to elevation. It is about being given resources, power, and influence that may transform lives, communities, and even generations. The selected ones recognize that being promoted is a divine mandate to lead, serve, and leave a lasting legacy, a holy obligation. The invisible is always where true elevation starts. While people concentrate on short-term outcomes or flimsy achievements, God is molding your heart, growing your character, and bringing your soul into line with their plan. All of your hardships, heartaches, disappointments, and waiting seasons have been intentional preparation. Your perseverance, wisdom, and faith in God's timetable have all improved as a result of each hardship. These encounters are not failures. They are necessary components of the divine ascension process. A change in perspective is another aspect of divine exaltation. Your spiritual awareness grows as God elevates you. You start seeing answers to issues before they happen. See divine connections before they naturally arise and seize possibilities that others miss. Your soul, heart, and intellect start to function at a higher frequency, which enables you to live life with knowledge and clarity that are beyond human comprehension. Type Amen to embrace the angel's blessings. Show your support by giving super thanks up to $20. This increased consciousness is a crucial indicator of the chosen ones and shows that God is getting you ready for tasks that are more difficult than you could have ever imagined. Being elevated comes with responsibilities. More than opportunity is entrusted to God. Stewardship is entrusted to them. The extent of your legacy depends on how you manage your connections, influence, resources, and promotion. The selected steward elevates them with responsibility, humility, and integrity. They realize that their ascent is meant to inspire, uplift, and mentor others rather than just for their own selfish glory. Every choice they make in accordance with God's will broadens their sphere of influence, and every error they make may have far-reaching effects. Moreover, divine ascent is always precisely timed. Even when it doesn't fit your schedule, God's timing is flawless. At just the right moment, doors open. Resources come at precisely the right time, and connections occur at precisely the right moment. What heaven has previously planned may be delayed by impatience or self-directed behavior. Knowing that the fullness of elevation comes to those who are ready in spirit, intellect, and heart, the selected wait, become ready, and take their positions. Select 1. Make sure you fully understand this. Your elevation is not arbitrary, and God has led you on this trip. God has prepared you for this very moment by walking with you through every difficult season, every triumphant moment, and every test of faith. You have been shaped into a vessel appropriate for your task by every tear, every prayer, and every act of obedience. Chapter 2. The Preparation Season. God will put you in a purposeful season of preparation prior to the manifestation of spiritual elevation in your life. This is not a period of punishment, postponement, or desertion. Heaven prepares you for the weight of your upcoming task on this hallowed training field. Because preparation seasons often don't seem to constitute progress, they might be misinterpreted. You can encounter unforeseen difficulties, diversions, or delays that seem to go against the assurances you've been given. However, in reality, these instances are not failures. They are divinely crafted refining furnaces that will help you become more skilled, strengthen your faith, and gain clarity for the future. Great preparation is necessary for any great calling. Consider the biblical figure of Joseph, who was given the gift of leadership, but had to endure years of slavery and incarceration before fulfilling his destiny. Or David, who was still a shepherd kid when God anointed him king, but who was held in the caves and fields until his hands and heart were prepared for the throne. The most significant change occurs during these preparatory seasons, even if they may seem obscure. God works in you on many levels throughout this time. They could seem to be learning useful skills. Your capacity for effective communication, resource management, and team leadership. More profoundly, they're developing the spiritual qualities that will keep you going when you are promoted. Integrity, wisdom, patience, and humility. They are aware that power without knowledge may do more harm than good, and that influence without integrity can become a trap. Additionally, preparation reveals and fixes hidden flaws. God sometimes permits circumstances to reveal attitudes, anxieties, or behaviors you were unaware you had. This is not done to condemn you, but rather to confront and improve them before they jeopardize your future. Although this procedure may cause discomfort, it is a kind act of God. The selected are aware that the throne should never surpass the maturity of the person occupying it. The preparatory season also calls for perseverance. It puts to the test your ability to maintain your commitment when no one is looking, your ability to work hard without expecting results right now, and your ability to maintain your vision when it seems like nothing is happening. God keeps a careful eye on you throughout these times, not to see you falter, but to make sure you're prepared. Your reliability throughout this season is evidence that you are capable of handling more responsibilities. God's silence is sometimes the biggest obstacle to preparedness. You can notice that they are giving you straightforward, repeated instructions, or that they are not talking as much as they used to. Distance is not this stillness. It's an obedience test. It is teaching you to follow your faith rather than your emotions. God is often keeping an eye on you while you seem silent to see whether you will faithfully follow the previous lesson they gave you without continual reminders. Never hate this season, chosen one. In heaven's record, even though it could seem like you're being ignored, you are really being readied for an unexpected and indisputable disclosure. In reality, what seems to be waiting is growing. In reality, what seems to be a delay is alignment. And you will enter through the door when God opens it, not as someone who is just about to enter, but as someone who is completely prepared, fully anointed, and totally purpose-driven. You will look back at the conclusion of this season and see that every hardship made you stronger, every setback made you wiser, and every struggle made you a person who could bear the blessing without being crushed by it. Type Amen to embrace the angel's blessings. Show your support by giving super thanks up to $20. Chapter 3. Vision is the first step in influencing generations. You are never supposed to be the end of elevation. True elevation is not personal in God's kingdom. It is a generational issue. God is thinking beyond your comfort zone, beyond your lifespan, and beyond your immediate social group when they raise you. They are putting you in a position to leave a lasting legacy that will influence the moral, spiritual, and financial spheres for your family, your neighborhood, and even those you may never encounter throughout your lifetime. The selected are aware that God has entrusted them with influence. They get it not so they can live comfortably, but so they may start a series of benefits that will come to them over time. For this reason, vision is crucial. Elevation without vision might be becoming self-centered. However, with vision, it becomes a base upon which future generations might build. Ambition alone is not vision. It's heavenly prescience. It is the capacity bestowed by God to see beyond the here and now and understand that the things you do today are seeds for the harvest of future. Through vision, you start to see your life in centuries rather than years. You understand that the decisions you make today about your religion, honesty, relationships, and stewardship will either create opportunities for those who follow you or put up obstacles they will need to overcome. It is common for God to give you a vision that is too vast for you to complete on your own or in your lifetime. It's not just for you, which is why it is intended to be passed on to others. Consider Abraham, whose faithfulness to God and his bond with him served as the cornerstone of a whole country. Or Joseph, whose ascent in Egypt spared the fate of a whole nation in addition to saving his own family. They had more in mind than their own comfort. It was rooted in the future that God had shown to them. The opponent combats generational vision with such ferocity because they recognize its potency. They may restrict the scope of your legacy if they can keep you alive just for the here and now. However, you may break the patterns of poverty, dysfunction, and spiritual blindness for everyone in your family when you live with a God-centered vision. The selected are also aware that money isn't the only factor influencing generations. It has to do with religion, morals, and wisdom. While money might be lost, values endure for ages. Passing on spiritual underpinnings, moral fortitude, and the bravery to live with purpose must be a part of your vision in addition to tangible benefits. Not merely what you leave in their hands, but also what you instill in their hearts, should be your greatest bequest to the next generation. You may benefit a lot of people with each step you take toward achieving your goal. You are writing history and creating patterns when you work with excellence, lead with integrity, pray for your family, and stand up for the truth even when it costs. You are demonstrating to future generations that it is possible to walk in favor and purpose without compromising. Never undervalue the importance of obedience at this time, chosen one. Your vision serves as a model for a time when your community, your children, and even whole countries will look back on your faithfulness with gratitude. When you give your life to God's plan, it becomes a seed that grows into a forest of gifts that will benefit future generations. Chapter 4. Devotion to the little things in God's kingdom. The large stage, the public platform, or the open doors are not the first steps toward elevation. It starts in the quiet, secret locations that only God can see. They will test your devotion with what seems to be little, commonplace, and sometimes even unimportant before they can trust you with substantial power. Your fate is sowed with every act of obedience, no matter how little. Every time you make the moral decision in private. Every time you kindly offer without expecting gratitude. Even if it isn't seen, you always perform your task to the highest standard. Heaven is observing. In actuality, these little incidents serve as the test runs for increased accountability. The selected are aware that in God's economy, nothing is wasted. Little tasks, unnoticed successes, and behind-the-scenes labor are all important. In actuality, the most critical events are often the ones you seem to be unimportant. They are teaching you to bear the burden of greater benefits, developing your endurance, and molding your character. Trust with heaven is developed through faithfulness in the little things. Consistency, not simply passionate outbursts, is what God seeks. When the breakthrough has not yet occurred, they want to know whether you would continue to pray. If you continue to serve even if no one expresses gratitude. If you're willing to donate even when money seems scarce. God is more moved by these silent acts of obedience than by any outward demonstration of achievement. God views it as a sign that you are prepared for more when you take good care of what you have, no matter how tiny. This idea is made abundantly evident in the parable of the talents. On a few occasions, you have shown faithfulness. I'll put you in charge of many. In God's kingdom, advancement is not achieved by hurrying. It's about establishing your credibility in your present season. It is risky to ignore the little steps, even if many individuals want to do so. Elevation has the potential to destroy rather than to create if the discipline and humility learnt in the little things are not used. Because they recognize that what seems little at the moment serves as the groundwork for the enormous task that lies ahead. The selected welcome these seasons. Being faithful involves more than simply doing action. It has to do with attitude. Your attitude toward God is reflected in how you manage the unseen chores. Do you serve with delight knowing that you are working for the Lord and not for others? Or do you do it reluctantly? God keeps an eye on more than simply your actions. They observe your actions. Don't hate the little beginnings, chosen one. Your current position, the people you impact, and the assets you oversee. They serve as your practice area. What God entrusts to you tomorrow will depend on how effectively you manage it now. The stage for which you are hoping will arrive, but it will go to the person who has shown themselves to be dependable when no one else was applauding. Chapter 5. Alignment and Divine Connections. Seldom does elevation occur alone. Although your own faith, self-control, and obedience serve as the cornerstone, God often quickens your path via supernatural connections. Connections that heaven has handpicked to open doors and further your mission. These are not your typical friends. They are destiny assistants who are placed in your path at certain times to help you advance into the next stage of your vocation. There is never any chance in a heavenly relationship. It is the outcome of divine planning. God has been at work in the background long before you meet them, bringing everything into harmony, preparing hearts, and opening doors so that when your paths finally intersect, everything changes at once. These connections might be in a variety of ways. It may be a mentor whose insight, in a single discussion, clears years of uncertainty. A supporter who gives you the tools you need to advance the goal. A partner who enhances your strengths so that you work together more efficiently than you could ever be on your own. Or even a complete stranger whose one act of generosity validates a message that God has already communicated to your soul. The selected are aware that acknowledging these connections is just as significant as being granted them. Sometimes divine appointments seem to be routine. They might appear in the form of a chance encounter, an unexpected discussion, or even a season in which God brings someone new into your life. You risk missing the exact person God sent to speed up your path if you merely make snap judgments based on appearances. But having a heavenly connection also means having discernment. Not every voice praising you is intended to accompany you, and not every extended hand is from heaven. The adversary will try to bring counterfeits, people who seem helpful but are really meant to divert, postpone, or undermine your goal, because they are aware of the power of alignment. Intimacy with God is essential for this reason. Their spirit will guide you to the appropriate individuals and warn you when something isn't sincere if you continue to pray. Spiritual alignment functions similarly to a spiritual magnet. The proper individuals will naturally gravitate around you when your actions, motivations, and heart are in line with God's desire. For them to remain, you won't need to plead, pursue, or make concessions. Because their spirit understands your life's purpose, God Himself will make them take notice of you, appreciate you, and invest in you. Although some of these linkages may seem unexpected, they are really the consequence of years of planning on both sides. God has been preparing them to bear their portion of your trip, while also molding you to manage the blessing. You'll start to understand that the partnership is about more than just you. It is to carry out a kingdom-sized strategy that will have an effect on future generations. The power of the right people at the right time should never be understated. You can get further in a year with a single heavenly link than you could in 10 years by yourself. They'll let you in via doors you never knew existed, protect you against unexpected threats, and validate the assurances you have been clinging to. Give them respect when God sends them. Take good care of the connection. Additionally, height is seldom reached by one person alone. The proper people are sent by God to support you while you bear the burden of a destiny that was never intended to be traveled alone. Type Amen to embrace the angel's blessings. Show your support by giving super thanks up to $20. Chapter 6. Enduring Hardships Gracefully. Being elevated does not make you immune to hardships. They are often drawn to it. New demands, unforeseen resistance, and invisible spiritual conflicts may surface as soon as God starts to raise you up. This is due to the fact that height increases your impact, and more opposition accompanies more influence. The selected, however, do not give way under duress. They gracefully ascend over it. The absence of grief is not the same as grace. It is the extraordinary capacity to remain steadfast, preserve harmony, and keep going even while the storm is roaring. The goal of trials in the elevation season is different from that of trials in your previous seasons. In the past, they could have focused on helping you overcome bad behaviors or escape harmful patterns. They are now focused on honing you and developing the sort of character that will allow you to continue reaching the heights to which you are being called.